This is Phantom, a retired racehorse who spent 2 years as a broodmare. With minimal prior training, we'll consider her as previously untrained and anxious. Today is only ride number 14, and she's confidently working off property here at an eventing clinic of all things. She used to bolt, brace, and struggle to regulate her nervous system, especially under pressure. This progress isn't luck. It's the result of targeted groundwork focusing on nervous system regulation. In this video, I'll break down exactly how I prepared her in the week leading up to the clinic. And if you're interested in knowing the whole picture, check out the series on Fields and Fences. And here we are. This is the week leading up to the eventing clinic. So far, I had only taken her outside once, which was last week. It went okay, but there were some sad parts where she did slip and fall, which was really unfortunate, and she did get tense. I was able to end the session well. However, the session definitely didn't go the way I was hoping it would have. So this week, I'm primarily focusing on let's get outside and see if I'll even be able to ride you at the clinic. Because if she's too tense, there is no way I'm getting on this horse. I'm all about making sure by the time I swing a leg over that saddle, I know that they're not going to try to lose me. So I'm targeting here some of the issues I identified in the first week, which was whenever she was headed in the direction of the barn or what we call home, she would take off, like bolt, let's go. Especially if the barn was on her right side, she would bolt harder through the right shoulder. What I'm doing is I'm lunging her over these little poles. I just had a walk, and whenever she's on the side of the circle that's opposing home, I am stopping her and moving her over and showing her that the far side of the circle is a rest point. This is all the psychological part of horse training, where we're teaching them to be thoughtful, to self-regulate, and to recognize where the rest points are. Continuing this lesson into the trot work now, making the barn side of the circle seem like work by adding energy to it, and then the far side of the circle, a rest point. You can see here that she's not really getting the point quite yet because her mind is elsewhere. That little bit of herd separation, all that's coming into play. So since she's not really noticing what I'm doing, then I'm gonna up the intensity and make it much more restful on that side and then much more work on the other side. Sometimes you're doing the right things when you're horse training, but you're just not getting to a level that the horse is even acknowledging, or they're not noticing the variance between this is work, this is not. This is work, this is not. If you're enjoying following our journey, remember to like and subscribe. I've heard it said before where sometimes you just have to make yourself more interesting than whatever is grabbing your horse's attention. And when I think make myself more interesting, I don't mean necessarily negative or mean way, but rather maybe in a more creative way. Now I've got a nice canter here. This first canter, much better than where we started last week. And then look at that. She's figuring out that there's gonna be rest points away from home. Now I'm moving around the field and just checking in. Can I get a few canter transitions? And is she acknowledging that the work is going to be on the side of the circle closest to home? There, the jumps worked in my favor a little bit. She started to go a little sideways towards home, but the jumps prevented that. And then rest point on that far side of the circle. Then I'll move on to incorporating a couple jumps on the lunge again, the first time we've done this outside. And sure, there's a little bit of excitement on this side of the circle. And then I use that jump there as she passed to help turn her. You can see her wanting to search for the rest points here. So now we're starting to get somewhere. Turning her to the log the other way. She jumped it, but then she had some sass on that side of the circle. So I have to keep her moving and go the rest points over on this side. That's always your rest point. They learn this stuff quickly if you are consistent. That is the number one thing with horse training is, are you consistent? And are you clear about what it is that you want? This sassing and discombobulation of her legs is not what I want. So there's no rest point there. And she knows what rest points are from all of our previous work where I had slowly introduced them in her earlier training. And she understands when she does something well, she gets a rest point. There it is. Now that she has the lunging work and the rest points down pat, I put the bridle on, make sure I have got some steering, some stopping. Here I'm moving her off of what will be my right leg. So a little lateral work, rest points, checking in, do I have that foundation before I plan to get on? And here we go, big moment. Getting on outdoors for the first time. This is her second time being worked outdoors. Make your bets now. Do I get bucked off? Put your guesses in the comments. All things considered, she started fairly well, but after a couple minutes, then things started to fall apart. I was able to manage it and, kind of keep it under wraps. You can see here, every time her head goes up in the air, that's me going, no, not that way, move the other way. And every time I'd kind of correct her, we'd find some sort of relaxation, but then right away again, she'd be like, I'm gonna try that behavior again. So now here, she's really escalating. I'm trying to turn left. You can clearly see she's going right. And then her behavior got more and more dangerous from there. Here, you can see with that extreme head tossing, as I'm very quietly, very calmly saying turn left, she's going absolutely not. And you can see she is on the point, the verge of rearing. If you were to really take a firm hold of this horse right now, she would be up and maybe even flip over. I would not doubt that. I've seen enough horses when they are in that mindset and you put down a real hard, firm line, it just blows their brain. And so the best I can do is manage and contain the situation. And upon reflection, I really just should have got off a lot earlier. But I thought, we've got a relationship. I can try to ride this out. Don't doubt yourself. Just get off when things are dumb. Because honestly, you can probably fix it a lot better on the ground than risking hurting yourself and your horse. Because this was a long session, my camera battery died and it missed the ending point, which was very scary. She went sideways to the gate so fast and so out of control. I just had to let it happen. And once we got to the gate, I jumped off kind of in motion and had to school her from the ground and end the session on like the schooling of the ground, which was essentially the gate sucks. It's a lot of work. And then resting her on the other side of the field. So boo, not the greatest session. But remember, I've told you that my belief is you have a sucky session, probably we're learning in that session. Next day, and guess what my game plan was? That's right, I'm ground driving her. I am not gonna ride through that again. No way. And when I work her in hand, I can't really recreate the same feelings of her being alone, so she takes control, because she doesn't take control when she's right beside me. So my genius was, you're gonna be ground driven. And of course, in true Sherilyn fashion, I was like, it's gonna be the first time she's ever ground driven, and we're just gonna do it outside, and it will be fine. It was mostly fine. A little bit of a minor rodeo when the lead line got under her tail. But you know what? It actually worked perfectly because the rodeo happened in front of the gate. And then as soon as she stopped rodeoing, we just walked away from the gate. And I was like, hey, look at that. Don't go near the gate. So I turned some lemons into lemonade and just made the same concept. Every time we go by the gate, I would just make it be really hard work for her. And before I knew it, she didn't want to be at the gate. Great. Time to get on. And you better believe, as soon as I got on, I went and walked past that gate and basically said, you want to push towards the gate, Phantom? I went and trotted the fence line to reiterate, this area is work. Trotted out to a nice rest point way out yonder. I did that a few more times and then I thought, let's trot past that spot. And boom, there she goes, attempting that behavior. And I sat up, I turned her, and then, change of tactics, I did a little turn on the forehand in motion where I used my right leg to whip that hind end around a few laps because she wasn't moving away from my right side. When I said move left, she said no. And then the moment I felt her kind of be like, okay, I just walked away calmly. Now let's see if she tries it again. Yeah, she does. You can see already here that push through the right shoulder, the head tilt left, but she did try it with much less vigor and I was able to turn and trot away. So then, of course, since she didn't take control in such a strong way, then I responded with a much softer correction. Ding, ding, round 3. You can see there the head tilt pushing through the right shoulder. But hey, barely strayed from the line that I wanted to be on. Success. So, rest point way out yonder. Shall we see what happens when I go the other way? La la la! Success. And we're even getting some stretching and dropping of the neck, incorporate a little ground pull. Yay. And then I trot off into the sunrise and have a rest point again. What do you think? Do you think that we've dealt with this issue or is there more to come? Either way, I say good enough for today. We went for a little trail ride around the field. This is Phantom's first trail ride. And look at her. She's out in the lead. Ears are forward. She's happy as a clown. That's awesome. Yeah, there we go. Good girl. The next day, I did another quick ride outside. The gate drama was way less. And I quickly chucked in a canter because if I'm going to ride her this weekend, I want to make sure I can canter outside. Look how smooth that was. And she's like, let's leave the group. Absolutely. She would have cantered to the end of the field had I let her. I had to tell her, that's good. Let's stop there. Happy with that. Here we go, weekend. We made it to the weekend. Here we are at the eventing clinic. Had some minor trailer drama. Not too bad though. I'm going to make a whole video series on how to teach your horse how to load. We're here a day early so that we can school over all the obstacles and see what she has to say. My expectations for this outing are come home with a healthy and happy horse who wants to go do it again. That doesn't mean I have to do any jumping. And if I don't ride her this weekend, I will be okay with that. Truly, I will. I just want her to be excited to come back and to enjoy the time. Even things like, hey, there's water. I don't care if she gets in or if she doesn't. So when you have that little pressure on your horses, then usually they do want to do the thing because they don't feel forced. How good is it to have friends to do this with, though? That helps so much, both for myself and Phantom. My friend had boots that she said they're waterproof. Ha! Look at this horse. Strongly considering it. Hey, what a good girl. And isn't the lighting just majestic here right now? Just a beautiful evening. Now, here's some more weird things that we noticed about Phantom. Even with this very slight terrain, it appeared to me that she really did not know how to go up and down hills. And the more we went up and down hills, the more it was obvious, I don't think this horse has seen a hill. I am not going to be riding her out here tomorrow if she doesn't know how to navigate a slope. This evening, we spent some time figuring out slopes. And yet another thing that Phantom doesn't know anything about. Again, just stuff that requires her knowing where her feet are. This ditch is tiny. It is about 6 inches deep and it's maybe like 2 feet across. Everybody can walk over it so simply. For the life of her, Phantom was like, there is no way for me to cross this. She watched the other horses go back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And she's like, nope. I'll put this in fast forward now. Just know that this took a very long time and a lot of patience. I could speed it up if I were to be more forceful, but that's not the type of horse trainer I want to be. I want her to enjoy being out here.
There we go.
Got her feet unlocked and then we got her over there. Now you're thinking as the way a human thinks. You're like, oh, now she knows. No. She doesn't know. She doesn't know. It takes them so many repetitions for horses to actually be like, oh, I understand this concept. See how the other horse just stepped in the ditch? Like it is so shallow, so simple, and it's a grass bottom. So here's a normal horse. Look at that, very easily stepping in the ditch. This is the way a horse who probably has a lot better proprioception, a lot less fear, does things. And then here's Phantom, here we go. Oh, we're gonna attempt it again. And still, it's a drama for her. And this is something where I found is the first couple times, she might kind of try. And then she all of a sudden like, no. I don't know if I like this. This is hard. And then she seems to put on a real good fit, which is what she did to me at home with running sideways to the gate. And now here she's about to go into a real big fit about, I don't want to go over that ditch. It's rather tiring, but I mean, this is her journey and it's not mine. We have to remember that. She doesn't know this is scary to her and a bit more than her brain can handle all at once. So I need to try to be a patient teacher that earns and keeps the spot of respect and leadership and trust. So I'm not going to whomp on her if she doesn't get the idea. I'm going to be firm. The boundaries are clear. She can't go really to the left or the right of the ditch. And you'll notice, watch my stick. If it touches her, it is a very gentle push. There's no whacking or anything like that. It is there just to put firm boundaries up. Each time she approached the bank, the fight would get a little shorter each time until she'd eventually just kind of have to take a look and then go over. And that's where I want to end, is that she can just kind of take a look and walk over and not overdo it, not big jump to get over, because then the horse still isn't confident. On to other things. Here we're on the bank. This is where a horse has to jump up onto another level or down off of something. We started by going up first and letting the horses see what it looks like to be on top so that they're not surprised when they get up there. And it's easier to start your horse going from down to up than up to down. So here I go, I'm leading Phantom up the up bank, and look at that. This is something she can comprehend fairly well. There is really not a lot of drama up there. Once we're up there, I make sure it's a rest point. If she wants to have a little snack of grass, she could, whatever. We have now moved on to a bigger ditch, one that they cannot step inside. And you can see the panicking, the nope that Phantom is saying to me here. Second attempt, boom, she went over it. Not bad. A little bit, almost ran me over. Attempting it going away from home, so to speak, was a little more challenging. She kind of dodged it that time. We moved on to now lunging over a big log. Maybe her brain was overloaded by here because she wasn't having it, and actually she pulled the rope right out of my hands. I did panic a little bit when she ran away thinking, oh boy, this is going to be bad. However, she was okay with the rope dragging behind her. And I'm going to attribute that to all of the work we've done in the indoor with, there's going to be things dragging on the ground. And what's your response going to be? It's not to panic. So we were able to contain that situation, which could have been hairy had we not prepared. Of course, we have to reattempt. You can see we're losing daylight. And I'm thinking at this point, I need to make sure I end on a good note. We've talked about that before, how important it is. Even if you have hard sessions in the middle, your horse is only going to remember, truly, the end and what was either really bad or really good. I chose to jump over to a very small log and then give her a rest point and end there. And so now it's like, okay, let's see if all the training we did today is good enough to influence tomorrow in a really positive way.